Hey, we're finally back. Steve's Giant Pumpkins 2025. It's May 1st, May Day, and it definitely feels like May Day out in the main competition patch. I'm off to my worst start ever, even worse than when I didn't know what I was doing. But we're not here to talk about that today. Today's all about my 150 square foot grow. All right, this is where my 150 square foot grow is going to live, and let me show you how I got here. All right, we're getting ready to build the 150 square foot patch. This is actually way more than 150 square foot. I'm going to put a lot more in it than just 150 square foot pumpkin. The 150 square foot pumpkin is going to go right around in this area. I got roughly 1,400 square feet of this, and it's such good looking soil. I said I'm going to use it this year. Before I start to build this thing, I'm going to throw some amendments in here. They're already broad forked, and did 2 tills, one to just initially, and then I grew a lot of grass in it while I was at work for 27 straight days. So I tilled that up, and let's get to work. All right. Again, keep in mind, this is way bigger than 150 square foot. All this is not going in specifically 150 square foot. It's going in the whole thing. So what I did, and this may be right or wrong, but this area here is roughly a third of my large patch, and I got a soil sample of the large patch and ran it through the Langley calculator. So basically what I did here was divide my calculations on the Langley calculator by 3.4 for each amendment, and that's what I'm going to put in here. Again, right or wrong, that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to add some biologicals. This is I typically don't put biologicals in my amendments, only because I can't afford to, but this is the stuff I had left over from last year. I've replaced this all for this year. I'm going to go ahead and throw some of that in there. I got some kelp meal. We'll come back to this in a second. I got some bone meal, and here's 15 pounds of ag lime. I got some 0060 and a little bit of urea in here, and some blood meal. I got some the bone meal. I got some mag oxide, and what else did I put in here? Calcium nitrate, and it seems like there's something else in here. I don't remember. I'll have to look at my list. And of course some alfalfa pellets. I'm going to put half a box of preen in here. This preen covers 2,000 square feet, so that's going to be pretty. There's like half left in here. That's going to be pretty accurate for what I need here. And then a very small dose, about 2 pounds of Talstar granular. This is going to help out get ahead of bugs before they get started. Always do this in all the patches pre-season, and it's the only time it sees Talstar the whole year. All right, there's that. Nice Well, I didn't tell down here this is going to be out on the outside. This is Major's dirt spot he likes to lay in. So I started here and tilled all the way up. Make sure to walk in front of the tiller the whole time. That'll be the very last time that I set foot in here with no walkboards. It's getting ready to rain. It's supposed to rain here in a couple hours. That towel star needs water to get activated in the soil, so I'll let that happen this evening. First thing tomorrow morning, I'll start putting fence up around the borders to keep the dogs, chickens, turkeys, ducks, rabbits, groundhogs, all that good stuff out of here. All right, a little bit about this fence before we move on to exactly what I'm going to do for the 150 plant. And if you've been watching the channel for the last several years, you know that I love using pallets. I have a pretty readily available source for pallets, and I chose to go pallet fence on here for a couple of reasons: cost effectiveness, and some others we'll talk about here in a moment. This particular pallet is really hard to come by, and I just got lucky, and they had a large inventory of them, need to get rid of them, so it makes perfect fence. So what I did here was T-post every other pallet, and then they're lagged together with pretty heavy duty lag screws down in there. I think you can see that. And then the bottom, just a little bit of reinforcement, got decking screws in there. And this fence is going to serve several purposes. Number one, it's going to keep the turkeys and ducks and chickens and groundhogs and rabbits out of here, and the dog, hopefully. So far, it's done a really good job of that. Because of the design of the pallet, it should create a really nice wind barrier for damaging winds, and I'm not going to put any wind fence in here. I think this is going to do the trick for me. And then it's also got some gaps in here. This should allow some nice, decent airflow and keep everything nice and well ventilated in here. I know what you're thinking, that this is way more than 150 square foot, and it absolutely is. I just couldn't deny using this after I started broad forking up in here last year. This is where I grew a bushel gourd that I never even watered. Well, I started it way too late, okay? I started it in June, and I didn't know it was supposed to start at the same time the giant pumpkins do. And then I never even watered it again after Mason's appendectomy, and grew 50-pound bushel gourd with no effort whatsoever. And also had the midnight pumpkins in here. My current plan is marrow, and then whatever's left after the 150. I think I'm going to do bushel gourd. The jury's still out on that, but bushel gourds haven't germinated yet. They're on day 6 right now, so I'm not sure how that's going to come along. Also trying my second round of watermelon grafts. If I'm not successful with this graft, I'll just grow them straight off of watermelons. I do have some of those started, and they might end up in here, but initially 150 is going to go in this area right here, and marrow, and then the rest of the space, every square inch of it will either be a couple of watermelons or bushel gourd. So everybody wants to know, what's my patch going to look like? And this year, I'm growing in a circle, 150 square foot circle. So how am I figuring out what to do for a 150 square foot circle? It's time to dust off those geometry books from 10th grade and do some math. So if you remember this math that everybody told you would never use in the 10th grade, guess what? We're using it today. To find the area of a circle, I know the area is equal to pi times radius squared. Now we just got to do the equation. I plug in 150 square foot for area. It's equal to 3.14 for pi times radius squared. Divide both sides by 3.14, and then take the square root of that result. That gives me 6.91 feet for my radius. Now that's a decimal 0.91. I got to change that to inches, which I did. It gives me 6 foot and 10 inches for a radius. I'm going to do 6 foot 9 inch radius just to be on the safe side and give me a little bit of wiggle room. Make sure I certainly stay inside of that 150 square feet. So I had an idea that I was going to get a 2x4, and I was going to drill a hole in it, a 5/8 hole, and put a piece of 5/8 rebar through it, which would go right in the center of this, and then attach a broomstick to the end of it and just walk it around and mark my 150 square feet. So The length of that would have been 6 foot 9 inches from the center of the hole I drilled all the way to the end of the 2x4, and then walk that around, and that would put a mark in the soil, which I would put some type of border in to mark that 150 square feet. But then I decided I was going to go a different path. My initial thought was to mark the circumference with brick, but I have lots of PEX laying around, and PEX can make a nice border with very little effort. So I had to do a little bit more math and find out that my circumference for my circle is 43 feet, 4 1/4 inch. So let's go put together the border. All right, well, I started off with 4 pieces of 3/4 inch PEX, 10 foot long, put together with a coupling and PEX clamps. And that's give me roughly 40 feet. And then I put the tape measure on it to make my final measurement to add the very last piece to it. Again, looking for 43 feet, 4 inches and 1/4. Right now I have right at 40 feet, 1.5 inches. So I'll do some more math, cut this last piece, put the couplings in it, and put her together. But one thing to note is I will put the couplings in and make my final measurement from the rim of the coupling. And there you have it, folks. Steve's giant hula hoop. All right, so what I'm going to do here, like we talked about over there, making this, is I'm going to get it relatively close to where I want it, and then I'm going to put some rebar in the ground, zip tie it to the rebar, and take my diameter measurements, and make sure that it's a perfect circle. And again, the diameter is 13 foot 9 inches. I did need to move a few more inches on both of the diameter lines from in between my pegs. I'm going to go back and get some more rebar, and I'll do 4 more pieces of rebar and get this thing perfect. So with a circumference of 43 feet, 4 inches and 1/4, that gives me a total area of 149.57 square feet. I think we'll go with it. All right, so why did I decide to grow in a circle? It's a harebrained idea I came up with middle ways through my 150 square foot grow last year. And typically when I come up with the idea, I think it's all mine. And then I find hundreds of YouTube videos all about it. I could not find one single YouTube video that grew 150 square foot plant in a circle. If you've done it, please reach out to me. Let me know how it went for you, and what you did and what to look out for. And the biggest reason I chose to do a circle is because in my mind, I can start these plants over there where they get the most sun and let it gradually follow the arc all the way around and have fruit set somewhere near where my stump's at. And I'm thinking I can get 30 feet of main vine in here. And that's the whole reason that I decided to go to circle, is to get more main vine. Not sure exactly what the grow is going to look like yet. You're going to see it as I figure it out. I'm not sure where the secondary is going to go. I had a couple different ideas. I'm going to run. One of my ideas was to run the main vine right along the
outside circumference and terminate all of the secondaries on that side. I don't let the secondaries grow in. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I might do it a foot or so away from it and let some secondaries follow along the circle also. It's going to be an interesting grow. It's going to be a fun grow, I think. No plants in here yet. I got plants in the house that are almost ready to transplant. Next time we see it, plants will be in here, and we'll put plants on this end over here where they get most sun. This area is kind of naturally shaded by all these trees. And it's my intent for everything that I grow in here will start on this end over here where it gets the most sun, and then the fruits will all be in the naturally shaded area. Hopefully that'll help me out. All right, that is Steve's Giant Pumpkins, May 1st, 2025, looking at the 150 square foot patch. This is either going to revolutionize 150 square foot growing, or it's going to be another dumbass idea from Steve's Giant Pumpkins right here at Hematite Homestead. Hit that subscribe button and find out in about 150 days. Till then, I'll be in the pumpkin patch. We'll see you next time with plants in the ground.